In the heart of Silicon Valley, where dreams are coded and fortunes are built, lived David Wilson, the enigmatic heir to the Wilson tech dynasty. At 32, David was the mastermind behind a billion-dollar empire, a man whose brilliance outshone the stars. Yet despite his wealth and power, his heart remained a locked vault, untouched by love. Women to David were puzzles he had no desire to solve. Each one, he believed, drawn to the glitter of his fortune rather than the man beneath it. But not everyone shared David's resolve to remain unattached. His grandmother, Eleanor Wilson, the matriarch of the family, carried the weight of legacy on her shoulders. At 85, her sharp mind was set on one goal: securing the Wilson line. She dreamed of a great-grandchild, a future heir to carry the family name. David's refusal to marry was a thorn in her heart, and she was determined to change his mind, no matter the cost. David Wilson was no ordinary man. Raised in the shadow of his father's genius, he'd turned the family's tech company into a global titan by the age of 25. His days were filled with board meetings, innovation labs, and the hum of servers that powered the world. But his nights? They were solitary, spent in a penthouse that felt more like a museum than a home. To David, love was a distraction, a weakness. He'd seen too many women chase his wealth, their smiles masking ambition. He vowed never to let his guard down. Across the city, in a modest apartment on the edge of town, lived Safiya Okoye, a young woman whose spirit burned brighter than her circumstances allowed. At 24, Safiya was a dreamer, a painter whose canvases captured the beauty of a world she'd never fully known. Her life, though, was far from a masterpiece. Her father, a man broken by debt and desperation, saw his daughter not as a treasure, but as a means to an end. Safiya's world was one of struggle, her dreams tethered to a father who cared more for money than for her. Yet her heart remained unbroken, her kindness a beacon in the darkness. She poured her soul into her art, believing that one day her talent would lift her above her pain. Little did she know, fate was about to weave her story into the tapestry of the Wilson dynasty. Eleanor Wilson was not a woman who waited for fate. When whispers reached her of a young woman named Safiya, sold by her own father to settle a debt, Eleanor saw an opportunity. The investigator's report painted a picture of a woman unlike any other, resilient, talented, and untainted by the greed that surrounded the Wilson name. Eleanor's plan was bold: bring Safiya into David's world, not as a pawn, but as a spark to ignite his heart. Safiya stepped into the Wilson mansion, her paint-stained hands clutching a portfolio, her heart pounding with hope. She believed she was there to create a mural for Eleanor, a chance to showcase her art. But Eleanor had other plans. She saw in Safiya a strength that could challenge David's walls, a spirit that could thaw his frozen heart. When David first saw Safiya standing in the grand foyer with her vibrant energy, he felt a jolt, a flicker of something unfamiliar. But his instincts kicked in. To him, she was just another woman drawn to the Wilson fortune, her presence orchestrated by his meddling grandmother. He resolved to keep her at arm's length, unaware that destiny had other plans. Days turned into weeks, and Safiya's presence in the Wilson mansion became impossible to ignore. She painted with a passion that filled the room, her laughter echoing through the sterile halls. David found himself drawn to her, lingering in the library under the pretense of work. He noticed the way her eyes lit up when she spoke of her art, the way she carried herself with a quiet dignity despite her hardships. But David's heart was a battlefield. He couldn't shake the suspicion that Safiya was like the others, a gold digger cloaked in charm. Yet her actions told a different story. She refused lavish gifts from Eleanor, insisting on earning her keep. She spoke to the staff with kindness, shared her meals with the gardeners, and painted not for fame but for love. Wow, the tension is rising between David and Safiya. Will David let go of his doubts and embrace the possibility of love, or will his fears keep them apart? Let us know your predictions in the comments below. And if you're loving this story, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more heart-pounding drama. Share this video with your friends to see if they're rooting for David and Safiya as much as we are. Now let's dive back into the story. At a family dinner, David's skepticism boiled over. "What do you want from us, Safiya?" he asked, his voice sharp as a blade. The room fell silent. Safiya met his gaze, unflinching. "I want to create something beautiful," she said. Not for your money, but for me." Her words struck him like a thunderbolt, cracking the armor around his heart. Eleanor watched, her eyes gleaming with hope. But David was torn. He felt desire stirring within him, a longing to know Safiya beyond his doubts. Yet pity gnawed at him too, pity for the life she'd endured, for the father who'd betrayed her. And then there was the thought of letting her go, of sparing her the weight of his world. Could he trust her? Could he trust himself? Night after night, David wrestled with his feelings. Safiya was a puzzle he couldn't solve, a melody he couldn't unhear. He began seeking her out, asking about her art, her dreams. She spoke of a world where beauty triumphed over pain, and he found himself wanting to believe in that world. But the shadow of his mistrust lingered, a storm cloud over his heart. The night of the gala was a turning point. Safiya's mural, unveiled to a crowd of Silicon Valley's elite, was a masterpiece, a vibrant tapestry of color and emotion that left the room breathless. As applause thundered, David stood at the edge of the crowd, his eyes locked on Safiya. She stood beside her work, radiant, not in borrowed jewels, but in her own light. In that moment, David's walls crumbled. He saw not a gold digger, but a woman who'd transformed pain into beauty, who'd faced betrayal and still chose to create. "Safiya," he said, his voice trembling, "I've been wrong about you, about everything." Her eyes searched his, wary but hopeful. "Then who am I to you, David?" she asked. He wanted to tell her she was everything, his heart, his hope, his future. But the weight of his family's legacy, his grandmother's schemes, and his own fears held him back. "I don't know," he whispered, his voice breaking, "but I want to find out." Safiya stepped closer, her hand brushing his. "Then let's find out together," she said. The air between them crackled, a promise of something new, something real. But the night wasn't over, and fate had one more twist to play. The dawn brought a reckoning. Eleanor, with her unyielding resolve, confessed to David the truth. She'd orchestrated Safiya's arrival, paying off her father's debts to bring her into their world. David's heart sank, his old suspicions flaring. Had Safiya known? Was she part of the scheme? He confronted Safiya in the garden, his voice raw with hurt. "Did you know my grandmother bought you?" he demanded. Safiya's face fell, her eyes filling with tears. "I knew my father sold me," she said, her voice steady despite her pain. "But I came here for a chance, David. Not for your money, but for me, for my art, for a life I could choose." Her words cut through his anger, leaving him raw. He saw the truth in her eyes, the same truth he'd seen in her mural. But the wound of his grandmother's manipulation lingered, and he needed time to heal. He asked Safiya to stay, to give him a chance to trust again. She agreed, but her heart was heavy, unsure if love could grow in the shadow of such betrayal. Time, as it often does, brought clarity. David and Safiya rebuilt their trust, stroke by stroke, like artists on a shared canvas. He learned to see her not as a pawn in his grandmother's game, but as a woman who'd chosen him despite his doubts. She learned to trust his heart, to believe in the man behind the fortune. Eleanor, watching from afar, saw her dream take shape. Not just a legacy, but a love that would outlast her. The Wilson dynasty would endure, not through wealth, but through the bond of two souls who'd found each other in the chaos of fate. In the end, David Wilson, the man who'd sworn off love, found it in the most unexpected place. A woman who painted his world with hope. And Safiya, the dreamer who'd risen from betrayal, found a home in his heart. Together they proved that even in a world of wealth and power, the greatest treasure is love. Subscribe for more stories of love and redemption. Share your thoughts below.